In China, there are places that feel more like memory than geography, where stone temples float above the clouds, where a single wooden plank clings to a cliff, and where rainbow mountains rise in silence, untouched by time. These are not tourist spots. They are thresholds between fear and stillness, height and silence. You don't just visit these places. You climb, you breathe slower, you leave something behind. Today, we cross into a China most will never see, a China that doesn't pose for photos. It waits and whispers. In the heart of Guizhou, Fanjing Shan rises more than 8,000 feet into the clouds. The mountain is a sanctuary of rock, mist, and time. There are no wide roads, no noise, just vertical cliffs, ancient stone, and the slow silence of breath. Near the summit, two ancient temples stand on separate stone pillars, each more than 300 feet tall, connected only by a single narrow bridge. There are no railings, no wide paths, just one crossing, suspended in air above the clouds. To reach the temples, you must first climb more than 8,000 stone steps carved into the mountain. No vehicles, no shortcuts. The journey takes hours and demands more than just strength. It's a climb into another rhythm of time. The rock faces of Fanjing Shan reflect light differently each day. In the morning, mist swirls upward like smoke. In late afternoon, golden shadows stretch across red stone. It's not staged, it happens only once each way. On clear days, clouds roll beneath your feet like a living sea. You don't look down on the world, you float above it. There are no sounds, only wind. You don't speak, you just stay. Fanjing Shan is home to species found nowhere else on Earth, including a rare golden monkey and a fir tree that grows only here. Most visitors never see them. But that's the point. This mountain hides more than it shows. High above the clouds in Hunan, Tianmen Mountain rises more than 5,000 feet into the air. But it's not the height that stuns, it's the opening. A natural hole cuts through the rock face, wrapped in mist and silence. Like the sky left a doorway behind. At the center of the mountain, a vertical hole towers more than 430 feet tall, completely natural, not man-made. This is Heaven's Gate, a raw break in the stone, where wind and sunlight pour straight through. It doesn't look real, but it's right there. A cable car, nearly 4.5 miles long, carries you from the city up into the clouds. For almost 30 minutes, you float between cliffs, crossing canyons and treetops, in one of the longest and highest cable rides in the world. The road to the mid-summit winds through 99 tight turns, each one cut into the mountain's side. From above, the path curls like a white ribbon over a sea of trees. It's a route built for awe and for courage. A glass skywalk stretches nearly 200 feet along the cliff, fully transparent underfoot. Step onto it, and you're walking above empty air. It's not just a test of balance, it's a test of will. To reach Heaven's Gate, there's only one way up a staircase of 999 stone steps. No shortcuts, no machines, just you, the climb, and the sky. In central China, Mount Huashan rises like a stone cathedral, sharp, steep, and silent. It is one of the most vertical mountains on Earth. Not a place to visit, but a place to test the edge between fear and stillness, footstep by footstep. The plank walk clings to a cliff thousands of feet high, just wooden boards bolted into rock less than 12 inches wide. No wall, no floor, only a harness and the sound of your breath. You cross sideways, holding the mountain itself. 5 peaks reach skyward, each one sharper than the last. The highest summit stands more than 7,000 feet above sea level. To reach it, you pass through stone tunnels, narrow stairs, and ridges barely wider than your boots. Before the modern path, monks carved footholds directly into the rock. You can still see them uneven, worn, and terrifyingly vertical. Some climbers today still choose to follow that ancient line up the cliff. At dawn, the entire mountain turns gold. Light spills across the rock like a slow wave. There are no sounds, just the wind, the drop, and the rhythm of rising. The view isn't wide, it's infinite. Mount Huashan is not about the scenery, it's about crossing your own fear. Every step forward is a moment between surrender and ascent. And once you finish, you don't come back down the same person. In northwestern China, the land around Zhangye folds and ripples like an ancient sea caught mid-wave. This is not painted. These colors are real. The mountains rise not for height, but for color, shock, and silence. The rock layers stretch across more than 24 miles, stacked in waves of red, orange, yellow, and even violet. The colors are formed by sandstone and minerals, pressed together for more than 20 million years, then exposed by wind, rain, and time. At sunrise, the hills explode in color. The red turns fiery, the yellow glows, and the shadows deepen the purple. For about 10 minutes each morning, the entire landscape becomes a moving painting. It looks digital, but it's not. Some peaks rise nearly 1,500 feet straight up, their faces striped like a layered cake. From far away, they seem flat, but from above, every slope curves like fabric draped over bones. In the rainy season, the colors darken and become more saturated deep red, bold orange, pure white. You can walk right up to the rock and see the grains shift in sunlight. Each square inch holds centuries. Zhangye Danxia is not about height or snow. It is about standing still and realizing that the earth remembers how to surprise you with no warning and no filter. South of Lijiang, Yulong Snow Mountain stands like a frozen wave, rising more than 18,000 feet into the air. It is not just tall, it is sudden. From green fields to glacier cliffs in minutes, there is no warning, only altitude and silence. The highest peak is never climbed. Avalanches hit without sound. Snow hangs on sharp ridges, shaped like broken glass. Even in sunlight, the mountain looks unfinished, too steep, too high, too fragile to touch. A cable car lifts visitors to more than 15,000 feet, where oxygen thins and clouds fall below your feet. The view is not just of peaks, it's of space itself. Breathing slows, voices lower. Everything moves like time stretched thin. On clear days, the snow reflects pure blue light. Not sky blue, ice blue. The kind of color that doesn't look real in photographs. But when you blink, it stays burned into memory like frost on glass. Glacial caves lie beneath the surface, shifting with the season. Most are unseen, but the sound of dripping water deep and slow, echoes beneath your feet. You are not on land. You are standing over sleep. In western Sichuan, Tianmen Mountain rises like a jagged crown above the clouds. 4 sharp peaks break through the sky, each more distinct than the last. The tallest one, often hidden in mist, looks more like a blade than a mountain. The highest peak climbs more than 20,000 feet into the air, nicknamed the Queen of Sichuan. It is taller than any peak in the Alps. The rock rises so steep that snow often clings only to the upper third. Sharp vertical walls drop thousands of feet straight down. From above, each ridge looks like a knife edge. Light catches only one side. The other stays in shadow, frozen and silent even at midday. At sunrise, the peaks reflect gold and blue at once. The sky glows behind them, but the faces remain cold. For a few minutes, you see both fire and ice locked together and unmoving. The lower valleys are covered in glacier scars, long white lines dragged across black stone. Some are wide enough to walk through. Others disappear into cliffs. Each one is a frozen path left behind by something that moved once and never returned. Just south of the city of Dunhuang, in a stretch of desert where no water should survive, a perfect crescent-shaped spring rests in the sand. It doesn't flow, it doesn't dry, it simply remains silent, balanced, and untouched by the chaos around it. The lake stretches less than 700 feet long, but its depth stays steady year after year. Droughts come and go, sand shifts. Yet the waterline doesn't change. Scientists still debate what lies beneath. The dunes around it rise more than 80 feet into the sky. They move with the wind. Some shift daily. But in thousands of years, none have buried the spring. It is as if the sand remembers to stop from above. The water looks like glass poured into golden earth. It reflects the sky so clearly that clouds seem to float both above and below. You don't see the ground, you see a mirror. At sunset, hikers climb the nearby ridge. When they turn back, they see it one silver curve glowing in a sea of gold. It's not a lake, it's a pause. A moment that shouldn't exist but does. Crescent Spring is not wide, not deep, not grand, but it stays. And that stillness, in a world of moving sand, might be the loudest thing for miles. Tucked deep in northern Sichuan, Zhangye Valley is a high-altitude world of water, color, and quiet. You don't stumble into it, you rise into it, layer by layer, lake by lake. It opens like a secret too large to hide. Some lakes here are so clear, you can see more than 40 feet straight down. Not murky, not tinted, just glass. Fish float like shadows. Fallen trees rest untouched on the bottom, preserved for decades in perfect stillness. The water shifts color through the day. In the morning, jade. By noon, sapphire. And sometimes, in the late sun, the lakes lose color, completely turning into mirrors that reflect only light and sky. Waterfalls don't fall from cliffs. They pour out of forest walls, gushing from trees like something misplaced in nature. From a distance, it looks like rain falling from green. Some lakes are dead, no inflow, no outflow. But their surfaces still glow, still shimmer. They are perfectly still, but not dry. They breathe with light, instead of movement. The valley rises in steps, each basin linked by travertine terraces. You don't just walk through Zhangye, you climb it, descend it, cross it through liquid corridors carved by time. Hidden deep in the Altai Mountains, Karnas Lake is a place the map shows, but your eyes may still not believe. Its waters shift color with the sky, and its shape bends through valleys like something drawn, not formed. At different hours, the lake turns from deep blue to green jade to pale silver. Sometimes all three colors appear at once, dividing the surface into soft layers painted by clouds, not by hands. Karnas is more than 620 feet deep, so deep that light barely reaches the bottom. The lake bed is shrouded in water fog, and myths speak of things moving in the dark that science still hasn't seen. Snow-capped peaks surround the lake, and on calm days, they reflect so clearly that sky and mountain blur into a second world. You don't know where the air ends and the water begins. Small rivers feed into the lake from opposite ends, each with different sediment and flow. Their colors stay separate for miles, forming soft lines across the surface, visible only from above. From high ridges, Karnas looks like a dragon sleeping in mist. Its curves are too smooth, too exact. It's not what you expect from a lake, and that's exactly why people keep coming. In the heart of the Ili River Valley, the Nalati Mountains stretch like a green wave, turned to stone. The slopes are sharp but smooth, coated in grass so dense and perfect it looks painted on. Trees vanish, shadows glide. The land breathes in silence for miles. The ridgelines run without interruption. No forest, no cliffs, just endless green. In the summer, clouds hang so low they brush the path. You can walk and touch the sky without climbing. Light here behaves differently. Each passing cloud casts long ribbons of shadow across the hills, moving slowly like fingers over a piano. The scene shifts by the second. No two moments look the same. Wild horses cross the slopes in groups, black, brown, white. They run in silence, parallel to the ridges. From a distance, they move like lines of ink across a living canvas. It's not a view, it's a moment unfolding. From the high trails, the meadows stretch out like waves. One after another, they layer toward the horizon. There is no end, no peak, no wall, only movement made still by distance. Nalati doesn't shock with height, it stuns with scale, with silence, and with the feeling that nothing between you and the earth needs explaining. Deep within the Tianmen Mountains, Halong Glacier rises not as a flat sheet, but as a frozen battlefield. Its surface curves and spikes like dragon scales, each ridge catching light and shadow in sharp contrast. This is not snow. This is armor. Some crevasses drop more than 100 feet, narrow as a man's shoulders. Light doesn't reach the bottom. You look in, and it swallows the color from your eyes. There is no edge, just the idea of falling. Under angled sunlight, the glacier glows deep blue, almost sapphire. Not white, not silver, just a translucent blue that feels stolen from inside a gemstone. And it pulses, slow and steady, like breath frozen in time. The air is silent, but the glacier isn't. Every few minutes, a crack splits through the stillness, loud and sharp, like thunder breaking glass. You don't see the movement, you hear its warning. At the far end, Broken towers of ice rise more than 30 feet into the sky. They stand alone, leaning like frozen waves that forgot to crash. Some float, caught in shallow melt pools, weightless, massive, unreal. High in the mountains of Xinjiang, Tianchi Lake sits inside the crater of an ancient volcano. Its name means Heaven Lake, and it earns it. The water rests above 6,400 feet so high that the air tastes thin and quiet. On clear days, the lake reflects the snowy peaks around it with mirror precision. You don't just see mountains, you see their shadows floating in blue. It feels like the sky has been folded in half and placed below your feet. Tianchi was born from fire. Its basin formed in the blast of a volcanic eruption, long before names or borders. Every drop of water here fills a scar left by the earth itself. When clouds drift low, the lake vanishes. You stand at the edge, and nothing is there, no water, no line, just white air and the sound of your own breath. You wait, then it reappears. In winter, the surface freezes into a sheet of glass. Walk on it, and you see straight through blue below, sky above, and nothing in between. It doesn't feel like standing. It feels like floating between worlds. In the heights of Hunan's cliffs, the Tianmen Sky Gate stands like a doorway carved by the wind. It isn't attached to legend, it's attached to air. The arch rises more than 460 feet above the mountain face real, wide open and completely untouched. To reach it, you climb more than 1,000 narrow stone steps. No elevator, no shortcuts, just your feet, your breath, and the slow narrowing of space as the gate grows larger above you. When the wind hits right, it strikes the rock like a drum. The echo travels in circles. Some call it a voice. Others say it's silence speaking. But no one talks when it happens. They just listen. Light doesn't pass through evenly. Half the arch glows in sharp sunlight. The other half stays in gray. You don't walk into brightness or darkness. You step between them. No part of this gate was built. It came from time. Millions of years of wind and rain hollowed out the stone, leaving behind a shape too perfect for explanation. And yet, there it stands. In the steep hills of Guangxi, the Longji rice terraces rise like sculpture shaped by time and hand. They don't flatten the land, they trace it, up, down, and around, layered like echoes you can walk through. Some terraces stretch more than 3,600 feet high. Machines can't reach them. Every step, every wall was built by hand, stacked, shaped, and adjusted over centuries of labor. There are more than 7,000 steps of rice fields, curving with the mountain's ribs. No two are identical. From above, they form ripples, rings, and patterns, an organic maze drawn in green and gold. In spring, when water floods the terraces, the mountain reflects the sky. Clouds move across the surface like silk. The boundary between land and air dissolves into something that feels still but alive. Each step is edged with stone, placed by hand. Some have stood for more than 650 years, not for beauty, for survival, but beauty came anyway, without asking. From the top ridge, the terraces look like a fingerprint carved into the earth. Every line speaks of effort, of rhythm, of human breath made visible. You don't just see it, you feel what it took to make it. In the highlands of the Tibetan Plateau, Chando Lake sits above 13,500 feet higher than many mountain summits. You don't arrive by road. You ascend into thin air, where sound drops away and even your breath moves slower. The lake's surface is deep blue, almost black. It doesn't reflect the sky, it absorbs it. Looking down is like looking into space, no shimmer, no ripple, just a pull into stillness. There are no gentle shores here. Stone cliffs drop straight into the water's edge. The lake begins like a wall. There's no softness, no invitation, only presence and precision. When the ice begins to thaw, sheets of frozen water drift across the lake, colliding with a metallic hum. The sound isn't loud, but it carries. It feels like something ancient waking up slowly. From above, the lake looks like a single dark eye set into grey rock, sharp, watching, alone. It doesn't ask you to come closer. It waits, quiet, endless. In eastern China, the Yandang Mountains rise like giant stone needles driven into the earth. The cliffs don't slope, they launch. This isn't a range. It's a vertical field. Every peak looks carved, but none were touched. Some stone pillars tower more than 3,600 feet into the sky, with nearly vertical sides. From the valley below, they feel too straight to be real, too sharp to belong to nature. Certain passageways narrow to less than 6 feet wide, while the walls climb hundreds of feet above. Walking through feels like entering a split in the world. The sky disappears. You shrink. When mist rolls in, the peaks vanish and return like shadows of ancient towers. It's not a forest. It's not a ruin. It's something between. And it watches from above. Waterfalls drop from more than 650 feet, with no lake to receive them, just rock. The sound fades fast. The impact hides. But the motion stays with you longer than noise ever could. From above, the range looks like a stone forest, dense, silent, and unreal. It doesn't unfold. It rises instantly. And it asks nothing except that you look up. Hidden high in Yunnan, Hudakuo National Park floats between 11,000 and 13,000 feet above sea level. It's not alpine, it's not jungle, it's both lakes and forests spread across a mountaintop that shouldn't hold either. The park holds mirror-like lakes so still they catch clouds like paint. Beta Lake and Shudu Lake don't ripple, they reflect. Every movement above them becomes art, brief, quiet, and impossible to frame. Scattered across the valleys, pine forests grow from within standing water. Tree trunks vanish into the flooded earth, like the land itself is half submerged. It's not a swamp, it's a suspended world. The weather turns fast. Temperatures can shift nearly 30 degrees in hours. As it changes, fog moves like liquid across the mountains, revealing, hiding, circling. The air itself becomes part of the scenery. From above, Hudakuo looks flat, but not empty. It spreads wide with no clear edge, blending forest, water, and sky into a single breath. There are no borders, just presence, quiet and vast. On the edge of the Gobi Desert, Mingsha Mountain rises not as rock, but as walls of sand. Some dunes climb more than 1,600 feet into the air steep, sculpted, and moving silently in the wind. When the air shifts, the sand sings, not whistles, not rustles, but deep tones, like a drum or a voice. It happens only here, only in motion, and no one can predict exactly when. The color changes too. In the morning, pale gold, by afternoon, orange. Near sunset, the dunes burn red, glowing like fire, yet silent. The light makes them feel alive and always slightly out of reach. At the base of the dunes lies Crescent Lake, perfectly curved, perfectly still, surrounded by nothing but sand. It shouldn't exist, but it does. No rivers feed it, no rain fills it. It simply stays. When someone slides down the dunes, the surface ripples, not just dust, but waves, gentle motions that echo down the slope. The sand moves like water, though it never leaves the ground. High in the mountains of eastern Tibet, Basong Kwo Lake sits more than 11,000 feet above sea level. It's not wide, it's not famous, but it is almost unreal, surrounded by cliffs, forests, and the kind of quiet that doesn't echo. The lake's color is emerald green, deep and sharp. The shade comes from glacial silt, not paint. Even in full sun, it stays cold, unreadable, like looking through jade into something that doesn't reflect. In the center of the lake stands a tiny island. On it, a temple more than 1,000 years old. No bridges, no roads, only boats. And only if the water allows. It doesn't call attention, it waits. On foggy mornings, the water disappears, the island floats, the trees vanish. It looks like a mistake in the landscape, something placed there by silence, not intention. From above, the lake looks like a cracked gemstone cut, sunken and glowing. The world around it stretches wild, but this one shape stays perfect. You don't pass through Basong Kwo, you arrive and you pause. Cut deep into the mountains of Xinjiang, the Tianmen Mountain Grand Canyon carves a spiral into red stone. The cliffs rise more than 1,300 feet, sheer and vertical, massive, silent, and so precise they look impossible. Some passageways narrow to just one person wide, while the rock walls stretch hundreds of feet straight up. You don't walk through them, you slip inside them into light and shadow shaped like a scar. The color of the canyon shifts through the day. In morning, it's orange. By noon, deep red. In late sun, it turns almost purple. Every hour repaints the stone, and no photo ever matches the moment. Along some ridges, towers of rock rise like a line of sentries. They weren't built, they just happened, stacked by time, by pressure, by accident, too perfect to repeat. When it rains, water cuts along the walls in fine red threads. It doesn't pour, it bleeds. For a few minutes, the canyon becomes a living thing, and then it dries again, without a sound. High in central China, the Wudang Mountains rise in layered cliffs and temples. This isn't just a place of nature, it's a place where stone and spirit meet. Paths climb into mist, roofs cling to rock, and silence speaks louder than wind. Some temples sit more than 4,900 feet above sea level, built directly into vertical cliffs. No scaffolding, no anchors, just faith held in stone. You don't walk up to them, you ascend. Narrow staircases run along the mountain's spine, no rails, no room for error. On one side, the wall, on the other, open air. Each step forward is a choice, and none of it feels casual. Clouds move through the mountaintop like breath. One moment, the peak is gone. The next, it floats again, temples suspended in white, as if gravity paused for worship. At the summit, the golden hall shines with polished copper. When sunlight hits, it glows like fire. No guards, no gates, just brilliance on stone, centuries old, impossibly clean. From below, you hear the bells, one chime, then another, echoing through the mountain like memory. You don't know where they come from, only that they keep calling. In the mountains of Hunan, Dongjiang Lake stretches more than 12 miles through narrow cliffs and rising forests. But in the early morning, the lake disappears. What you see instead are boats floating on clouds. The mist here doesn't lift. It rests, wrapped over still water. It hides the surface until only silhouettes remain: trees, oars, motion without origin. You don't look at the lake, you look through it. The surface reflects every ridge around it. Pine trees stand upright in the water, though they grow on land. There is no horizon, just a fold between green and glass. From above, the lake forms a deep blue ribbon, twisted between stone. It doesn't cut through the landscape. It drapes through it, elegant, long, and quiet. Even in winter, the lake doesn't freeze. Instead, it turns glassy green, pure and sharp. No ice, no snow, just cold clarity that sinks deeper than light. On the slopes of the Tianmen Mountains, one lake hides among ancient cypress trees. Tianqi is quiet, but the trees around it rise more than 100 feet, pressing against cliffs and sky roots holding stone, branches slicing light. The lake sits beneath snowy peaks, and on still days, the summit reflects in full. You see white above, and you see white below two skies, one solid, one soft. When the light tilts low, the trees cast long shadows into the water. They don't stop at the surface. They pierce it, creating a forest below that isn't real, but feels just as old. Some cypress grow straight from stone. No soil, just roots twisted into cracks, holding their place where they shouldn't. Each one is a lesson in how far stillness can stretch. And when the clouds drop, the view disappears. No trees, no peaks, no water, but below the fog, the lake still holds the shadows. What you no longer see still watches back. In eastern China, Zhangye rises not as one mountain, but as three stone blades. Each stands more than 1,000 feet tall, red, narrow, and vertical. From a distance, they look too sharp to be real. From below, they feel even sharper. There are no gentle paths, only staircases bolted along the rock. No rails, no platforms, just narrow steps climbing the edge. Each step is a choice between fear and ascent. When clouds descend, the pillars vanish at the base. You see them rise into the sky, but not where they begin. They don't feel rooted. They feel suspended, like they came down, not up. In some corners, the stone splits into deep grooves. Light pours through in narrow shafts, cutting the air like glass. It doesn't feel like sunlight. It feels like architecture. From the summit, the pillars reveal their shape. Not towers, not cliffs, but ships, massive, silent, drifting through a sea of clouds, anchored not in earth, but in awe. In the forests of eastern China, Tianmen Mountain rises like a sharp triangle. From afar, it looks man-made, like a pyramid cut from black stone and dropped in a sea of green. But it's real, and it waits. The mountain's surface is coated in thick moss, dark green and unnaturally smooth. From a distance, it looks painted. Nothing breaks the texture. Nothing grows out. It just climbs. Cracks line the upper ridge, narrow slits that catch sunlight and throw it out like beams. You can't see through them, but the light moves anyway, as if the mountain is breathing in shadows. Ancient stone steps still cling to the side, barely wide enough for a single foot. No rails, no ropes, just stone, air, and the long fall beneath. Every step is taken slowly or not at all, and when fog drops, the mountain disappears into itself. No lines, no detail, just a dark shape, floating in white like weight, suspended in silence. In the deep canyons of Yunnan, a high lake stretches nearly 15 miles but stays narrow, wrapped between vertical stone. It doesn't open wide. It runs like a thread, tight, precise, and quiet. The water glows deep green, like polished jade. It reflects the cliffs perfectly, doubling the world. You don't look at the lake, you look into a second version of everything above it. In many places, the canyon narrows to less than a mile. Boats drift through passages that feel more like stone corridors than open water. Every turn feels like the lake is folding inward. When sunlight slides through the cliffs, the lake becomes a corridor of light. It doesn't feel still. It feels pulled, like the water is leading somewhere hidden. Straight into the mountains. At sunrise, mist rises from the surface, stretched long and thin. It doesn't lift, it flows. A pale trail that slips between the rocks, showing you a path that doesn't seem to end. In southern China, Libo karst forest doesn't spread, it rises. Thousands of limestone towers cut through jungle like blades, turning a green forest into a vertical maze of white stone and silent trees. The forest grows over sharp rock, but the roots still find space. In narrow gaps, where light barely passes, trees twist downward, gripping the stone, holding on in places nothing should grow. From above, it doesn't look like forest. It looks like a field of spikes, white ridges punching through green. No clear path, no center, just motion frozen in stone and leaf. At dawn, mist weaves through the gaps, lifting between ridges like breath. The peaks disappear, then reappear. You don't walk through the forest, you lose it, and it finds you again. Some sinkholes drop more than 300 feet deep. Inside them, trees grow up from the shadows, rising slowly toward the light, an upside-down world hidden in the middle of everything else. In Zhejiang's Tianmen Mountains, rivers don't roar, they trace. Water runs along stone like handwriting, clinging to cliffs, threading through forests and folding into places too narrow for light. Some streams slide down rock faces in thin silver lines, carving soft curves into hard edges. From a distance, they don't fall. They draw deliberate and slow. In some places, light breaks through stone ceilings and lands directly in the water. The result is unreal rivers glowing from within. lit not by sun, but by placement, by angle, by timing. On foggy days, the water vanishes. You hear it, but don't see it. The sound bounces between rock, creating presence without shape. You follow your ears, not your eyes. From above, the river system looks like a living map, veins of light running through the mountain. No river is straight, no line repeats, just motion layered over silence. Hidden beneath the surface. Shan cave opens with a gate more than 230 feet tall. The entrance doesn't slope. It drops into shadow, into stone, into something that feels unmeasured. Inside, stone columns rise more than 100 feet, twisted like molten rock pulled upward. They weren't carved. They happened slowly, without sound, without witness. In some chambers, the path narrows while the ceiling soars. You walk hunched through space larger than a cathedral. Light doesn't reach all of it, but your breath echoes everywhere. Certain pools reflect nothing. The water is still, invisible, flat like polished glass. You don't know it's there until it stops your steps. Then the light appears, just a shaft. From far above, striking one pillar, the entire cave glows from that single beam, as if the mountain itself was waiting to be seen. Zhangye Valley runs more than 20 miles, but feels like a tunnel. It's narrow, tight, and entirely walled in by cliffs. The sky above is small. The path ahead never bends. You walk, but you don't widen. Sunlight reaches the floor for just 2 hours each day. After that, it's shadow clean, even cold. The light doesn't change. The air doesn't move. Everything waits. Some walls break open, not wide, but deep. You step through cracks in the stone and find sudden archways, carved by time, not by plan. Doors without hinges, openings without intent. In spring, life climbs upward. Green vines creep along vertical cracks, climbing rock like veins. It's not lush, it's determined. It doesn't cover the cliffs, it dares them. When fog enters the valley, the walls vanish. You don't lose direction, you lose dimension. There is no ceiling, no floor. Only white ahead and the quiet weight of everything behind you. Jiguan Cave doesn't descend gently. It drops more than 5,600 feet deep, split into layers that pull you down through the heart of the mountain. You don't explore. You fall, one chamber at a time. Stalactites and stalagmites twist into clear stone columns, lit by hidden lamps. The rock glows faintly, like it remembers something you forgot. Every surface is sharp, curved, and cold to the eye. Some alcoves ring when tapped like bronze bells under pressure. The cave is silent, but not empty. Sound here is thick. It moves slower. It waits for you to notice it. In still pools beneath the floor, the cave reflects itself. Ceilings become floors. Shadows turn upward. You don't walk through the cave. You walk between two identical worlds. The entrance is narrow, barely wide enough for a person. But inside, the space opens to a chamber more than 230 feet tall. The shift is instant. The air changes, and so do you. In Liaoning Province, Wu Mountain rises not as one peak, but as a forest of stone towers. Some stand more than 1,100 feet tall, completely vertical, surrounded by green. They don't lean, they launch. Many towers are split by narrow cuts. forming hidden corridors between cliffs. You don't hike around Wu Mountain, you pass through it step by step, wall to wall. On autumn mornings, mist floats only at the base. The pillars rise above it like they've broken free from the earth. They don't seem placed, they seem lifted. Some flat-topped spires hold tiny temples, perched far above the forest floor. No roads, no fences, just silence, space, and the soft echo of bells in wind. From the sky, Wu Mountain becomes a stone labyrinth. No straight lines, no pattern, no clear exit. It wasn't built to be climbed, but it calls anyway. In China's northwest, the colorful Danxia fossil zone stretches like a frozen rainbow. These hills weren't painted, they were pressed layer by layer over more than 20 million years, then lifted into air and cut by wind. The colors are real: red, yellow, orange, even blue and purple. Each band follows the curve of the earth like silk sewn into stone. You don't trust your eyes, but there's no filter. Some peaks twist into sharp points, stabbing upward through the stripes like blades. From a distance, they don't look solid. They look drawn, with too much precision to be random. When it rains lightly, the colors deepen. What looked dry becomes vivid. It's not new paint, it's ancient color, waking up for just a moment before fading again. At sunset, the hills shift tone with every passing cloud. The shadows curve across the lines like fabric folding. You don't walk through this place, you move through color that doesn't move. In Hunan province, Tianmen Mountain holds a gate not made, but formed. The sky gate rises more than 430 feet tall, carved by time, framed by stone, and open only to air and light. To reach it, you climb more than 1,100 stone steps. No roads, no vehicles, no shortcuts. Each step narrows the view. Each one counts. Some days, fog curls upward, swallowing the path and the gate. When you arrive, you don't see rock. You see a shape floating in white, like a door to nothing and maybe everything. When the sun hits just right, a blade of light cuts through the arch. It doesn't glow, it pierces. The air splits clean and then it fades, leaving only shadow behind. Stand beneath it and look up. You don't see the sky, you see one slit of light pointing down, reminding you how small the sky can be and how far you've come to find it. In Sichuan province, Anren ancient town holds a quiet contradiction. Western-style villas line the streets, built more than 100 years ago, yet beside them, tile-roofed homes and stone alleys remain unchanged. Some paths stretch over 1,000 feet, laid with stones smoothed by footsteps, but never replaced. The lines bend slightly. The ground remembers where people stood, inside certain villas. The furniture remains carved tables, dusty typewriters, stained glass, still catching sun. Nothing's restored, nothing's labeled. Time just paused and never resumed. At sunset, the light passes through colored windows and wooden eaves, casting shadows that slip across old doors and new dust. The town doesn't speak, it glows. Some alleys narrow to the width of 2 people, but beyond them, large courtyards with deep wells and quiet pools hidden behind every tight turn. Small outside, endless within. In the hills of rural Japan, Yasano looks like a quiet, ordinary village. Houses stand, gardens grow, children wait at bus stops, but no one moves, no one breathes, because they aren't real. The village once had over 300 people. Now, only a few remain. In their place, dolls, hundreds of life-size figures, posed exactly where the people once stood, worked, and waited. Some sit in unlocked homes, looking out through windows. Others kneel in fields, frozen mid-tend. In classrooms, students never left. They sit upright, staring forward. Chalk untouched. You can walk through it. You can speak, but no one speaks back. The air feels full, but it isn't. It's memory stitched in fabric, placed by hand, left to hold space. All the dolls were made by one woman, a former resident, alone. She gave the town a second skin, not to forget, but to remember exactly where everyone was, even if no one is. You've seen temples above the clouds, a mountain with a hole to the sky, and lakes so clear they turn into mirrors. But which moment stayed with you? Was it the rainbow cliffs of Zhangye or the silent steps of Mount Huashan? Let us know which place stirred something in you and where should we go next. There are still hidden wonders waiting, and stories the maps forgot. If this journey moved you, tap like, subscribe, and join us as we explore the unseen, the unreal, and the unforgettable.